Okay. Thanks for the introduction. And actually, I was like the last minute to be told that this panel discussion will go in English. So, but we're fine because of us speaking in English. So, if you guys have any problem understanding what we are going to talk about, just fetch the device outside the door. I guess for since this year's panel is gonna be very, very valuable. We got some of the friends you may already have seen last year, such as the big boss coming from Galaxy, Ryan. We also got a couple new faces who are also very important, in charge of the very important business about going global. So to start, we got a couple of questions you guys already understand. But before that, I would like you guys to have at least 1 minute to introduce yourself shortly, right? Starting from Berkley. Your turn.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us, and thanks for attending the session here. I'm Berkley Egenes, the Chief Marketing and Growth Officer at Xsolla. We are a global video game commerce company. We partner with some of the guys here on stage as well to collaborate, solve the inherent challenges of funding, monetization, compliance, legal, taxation around the world.
Thank you. And Ryan, it's your turn.
Hi, everyone. I'm actually very sad today because the reason I come to ChinaJoy is so I can finally speak Chinese on panel, but totally fine. I'm Ryan. I'm partner and the co-head of gaming at Galaxy Interactive. We're 800 million plus AUM VC fund that focusing on the interactive sector and invest heavily in video games. And we have a lot of partnership with Xsolla and other strategic partners. China is one of our focus region, right? We have more than 5 game studio CP portfolio, right? Company here, and looking forward to discuss with the other guests here.
Thank you. And Nikita, please introduce yourself. Yeah.
Hello, dear friends. Hello, colleagues. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm representing the Yandex Games platform that is part of the huge IT company that some people call like Russian Google. It's Yandex that has like 200 million reach to the audience. Our platform is for browser games, and basically our business is bringing web games back to the gaming industry because there was a time when it was super popular. I think you know well. So we also work closely with the Chinese companies, Chinese developers. They are very welcome on the platform. And of course, it will be a pleasure for me to take part in a round table. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now it's your turn, Hussam.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Hussam, and I'm CEO of Tamatem Games. Tamatem Games is a mobile games publisher for the Arabic-speaking language in the Middle East. We work with a lot of gaming companies from around the world to localize the games, make them suitable for the language and culture of the region, and we publish them. We also have a payments platform in the Middle East to help people in the Middle East to buy in-app purchases on the App Store. We also work with Xsolla to provide payments for Xsolla in the Middle East. And we work a lot with Chinese companies to bring MMORPG, SLG games. We localize them and we launch them in Arabic. So happy and excited to be with you all today.
Thank you. Sutor, finally.
Hello, everyone. It's my great pleasure to be invited here, attending this panel. Actually, I'm the guy who can speak Chinese as well, So I'm from Localize Direct. Localize Direct is a game localization company. We dedicate ourselves for the past 10 years on the game localization. So we provide a very good service to our clients. We also have a greatly platform, which will be benefited for the localization. So hope based on our discussion, we have a more good insight about how to publish game globally, how to do the game localization in the future.
Thank you, and thank you all, gentlemen. So apparently what you guys are going to hear about voices coming from different countries, different territory regions, and also business crossing different genres, localization, publishing, a lot of different services, and even including investment. So it's going to be a very, very valuable panel. So the very first question I'm going to ask you guys is about, because Ryan and I, we were, sitting probably the same chair last year here, talking about going global. So in Chinese, going global means 出海. So I still remember last year, actually going global was one of the hottest phrase, and you guys can hear in the convention center. Besides another one, finding money, right, Zhao Qian? So 1 year's plus. Right now, we're in the very middle of 2024. And because you guys are in charge of different dimension of the game industry's business, I would like you guys to share some of your insights about how is your insight to the changes starting from since last summer about going global. So that is a huge term, but give it a try. Yeah, starting from Berkeley.
It's an interesting conversation. It's a very broad answer. You probably would get 5 different answers up here and an interpretation of what that looks like. What we're seeing is a lot of games, let's talk China here, because of where we are here at ChinaJoy, is seeing a lot of games based here, incredible experiences, and growing outside of the geographical borders. Is it to Southeast Asia? Is it to Latin America? Is it to the Middle East? In different places as well, and everywhere in between. But by providing that opportunity and that access that we really strive to provide, we've seen a lot of growth in sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia. We've partnered with several folks to bring more payment methods available so that we can help you as a developer to go do it. It's picking your target market. To go global and splash into 200 plus countries around the world is a challenge, but to be tactical, to be local, to be specific to the market where your players are, that's the focus area that we're continuing to have conversations we've had with many of the great individuals from the companies up here, but also in the crowd to how do I go to this specific country and where we see and take it one step at a time.
Thank you. So Ryan, I guess we talked about that last year, and maybe you can share some of your new insights this year.
Sure. I think the trend's still there. Right? I think the Chinese company, the game developers, are, the type of a product they can deliver these days are still unparalleled, right? In the global market, in more genres than before, right? And in very soon we're gonna see the Black Myth Wukong gonna release, and of course with high expectation. But that's one example that even on the AAA PC console side, you can see Chinese company games go overseas. I would say though, the trend's still there, but it's harder now, right? Because it's no longer a novel idea, right? It's not new, right? The big companies, small company, all try this, and I would say because of the domestic market start to warm up, because the ICBN, become more regular. So I would say, some studio may decide not to go to that route, which I think is a mistake, right? Because I do think, we talked about last year, if you want to focus on the global market, you have to make that part of your DNA, right? You cannot make it a short-term strategy because, you cannot get the Banhao in China. You just try global market, but then as soon as you have that, you come back, right? Exactly. That's not gonna work because even the global market is much more competitive and crowded than before. Yeah. Right? So you do need to really focus and think about that market even from the inception of your project.
Indeed, thanks. And talking about going global, Nikita, a lot of the domestic enterprise from China actually going to Russia, but I don't know about that at all. You may be the one who can talk about that as well, but our term is about going global. So yeah, your turn.
I will try to be short in my answer, but basically I can speak for an hour about this topic. We were presented on ChinaJoy last year. We had a lot of good meetings and conversations with partners here. I totally agree that the process is a long term because it takes a lot of time to prepare all localizations, adaptations for different markets, because basically that's, I would say, the main goal to go through the marketing procedure successfully to reach your audience. For us, we are in a very good position, I would say, because the landscape of the market is continually changing. The mobile segment is super overheated. the traffic has become much more expensive, but the lifetime value of the user is not basically changing. So that changes the profitable part of the business. And for now, mobile developers mostly all over the world are super motivated to find new sources for revenue and traffic, how they can grow their profitable part. And web gaming is a good solution, because when you're bringing content to our platform, we provide you with the traffic. You don't need to spend money for user acquisition. That's the thing. The platform earns money together with the developer. So we're in a good position, as I said. We continue to onboard new partners from all territories, including China. I think that the marketing and the adaptation for the games for different regions is like the main thing to be solved. And in like main points for us, we grew from the last year. We're now 40 million players on monthly basis, and 25% out of this audience is going from international markets. That is super good. I hope next year we will be able to share even better results.
Thanks. I actually can hear this for in the entire year. If you have time, we can talk about off the table. And Hussam, because you know Middle East, right, is some place that people's been talking about lately. So I really want to hear your insight about this market as well. And it is also a part of the going global. I try to narrow down to make it answer, you know, easily. Yeah.
I think it's going global by coming local. In our perspective, we always tell the companies that, of course, it's very difficult, as you said, about like going global. Focusing on smaller markets like the Middle Eastern market is a very interesting approach, because you know, like the MENA market is the fastest growing market in the world, and it has something very unique about it, which is the highest average revenue per paying user in the entire world. If you compare the Middle East to maybe China, it is 7 to 8 times higher RPPU than China, which is considered a very high RPPU. But at the same time, to tackle that market correctly is a big challenge. It's not easy, and we see it all the time. A lot of Chinese developers are convinced that they can go to that market on their own. And they put a lot of money and a lot of investments and a lot of marketing work into trying to figure it out, because they believe that working with a publisher means that they are forfeiting some of the shares that they have. And you will hear it in so many different cases that, yeah, don't work with publishers. Work on your own and don't care about publishers and just do it. It's like, okay, fine, you do it. But at the end of the day, they will all like come back and return back to the publisher saying like, I've tried, I've spent the past 6 to 9 months working on my own. And at that time, the publisher will say, no, I'm not interested anymore. And the main reason behind that is that the publisher saw the efforts of the developer on their own, and there is something that they did not like. But instead of throwing that problem at the publisher, the developers are taking that risk on their own. We always encourage the developers on these. Yeah, for example, for me, if I want to go to the Russian market, there's no way for me to do it on my own. Although I am a publisher, but I don't understand the market. I don't know it. You know it. Like, give the game to Nikita and like you do whatever you want.
Right. Yeah.
But that's like, I believe that there should be a change in the mentality of, I want to tackle the Russian market. I want to come to the Chinese market, and I want to be in maybe 20 markets. So let each one of them do their work. And at the end of the day, I will be the one benefiting. But this is how maybe the mentality should be.
Okay, it's about mentality. Yeah, you're right. So, Sutor, you've been working and cultivating and the zone media localization for so many years. I really would like to hear your thoughts about this, the going global trends in the past 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we have a slogan in game industry. If you want to survive, go to the global market. Otherwise, you will die.
Interesting.
So from the game localization side, we really find a lot of the good phenomena and insights. First, we can see, especially for recent year, a lot of the game company and the studio, they pay much more attention on the game localization. They know they need to do the global publishing, but the foundation should with game localization with high quality. That is one thing. Another thing is compared with a lot of localization, they only finish the translation. More and more company and the studio realized they need to provide a high quality game. They need to put a budget for the game localization. That means normally they will choose a native speaker to do the translation. Sometimes they prefer several guys to handle that. One guy can handle the translation, one guy can handle the proofreading. So all of that costs a lot of money, you know. But they thought it was to do that. And the last phenomenon we realized, compared with the mainstream game market, for example, the US market, the Chinese market, Japanese market, EU market, a lot of the developer and the studio focus on the small country and a small region. That means they would like to put a budget for this country's game localization. For example, a lot of the Nordic country, they help with game localization. They translate the game into Swedish because they want to please the players in Sweden. So I think most of them realized how important for the localization. And most important, they really take action to do that. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. To summarize, that you guys have been making a lot of money compared to last year. A lot of people is willing to spend more money for localization. Okay, exactly. So yeah, thank you. Go ahead. Is there anything you want?
Exactly, I totally agree with you about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know, the interesting thing is initially when I saw the schedule was like 1 hour. Maybe we not fully use that of the time, but after the first question, I was like, next year, I got to talk to the committee to give us 1 day to talk about this. It's so many information coming in. So the second question, I would like you gentlemen, you folks to speed up and shorten a little bit because the time is quite limited. But I would like to start from Sutor because, I want to make it random. So the question is, since the entire last year until today that you guys been we are not going to talking about any political things, but as a matter of fact, the changes of the political conflicts and also the economics, inflations, a lot of things been going on. So may I ask, maybe you can let your gut feeling tells the audience what you guys think where in the next few, like 2 or 3 years, what will be the best target market on this small planet? So starting from you, Sutor.
I think actually the game industry changes every day. If you go to see the new game release, so the Google Play, App Store, and even the Steam, you can see a lot of game release every day. So the market changes every day. The key is how you can stand out. You have to face hard competitions here. So in that scenario, you need to think about what can be the potential chance for your studio or for your company. So I think compared with mainstream game markets, especially for US, for China, for EU, we can see a potential opportunity from the Southeast of Asia.
Southeast of Asia?
Yes,
okay.
That can be the potential opportunity because as I know, some of the Chinese company already made a huge success here, especially published their esports games here. For example, Garena, they published Free Fire there,
right.
And Mobile Legend from Mutong Game as well. So for Southeast of Asia, a lot of the players love to play the competitive games, especially for the esports game.
Right.
I do believe that can be the potential opportunity in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hussam, talk about the promising potential market that you believe in next 2 or 3 years. It could be country or regions. Your turn.
I'm very biased to the Middle Eastern market, especially that I believe that why the MENA market is important is because a lot of people are getting access to internet, a lot of new people getting access to better phones in the Middle East. And I believe payments is the key answer to the Middle East. 70% today, 70% of all people in MENA don't have bank accounts. And imagine a higher percentage don't have credit cards. So how can these people today make any purchase? And you think about like the Middle East, thinking about the wealthy Gulf countries that are spending a lot on mobile phones and apps. This will increase for sure. And we believe that the more we help people to buy using local payment methods and the more credit card penetration will happen, this will increase and accelerate payments. This is like a very important thing.
Okay, excellent. So Nikita, what's your answer?
The question, I would say, is very complicated. I work in game industry for more than 15 years. I feel what colleagues said. I understand like the meaning of this for the business. And I would say that business is like life. He will find a way. So even having some kind of restrictions, regulations, and some other political problems, game industry was always very united and working together all over the world. That's true. And even now in this complicated situation, we continue to work internationally with all the partners, bringing different decisions for different situations. And I think everyone are still motivated to work in game publishing, game development. And for these people, this have like a zero connection with some kind of geopolitical aspects. So business will find a way how to win. And as for the countries, the game industry continue to grow rapidly all over the world with the specific in each region. I totally agree. And that was what I meant when I said about the marketing aspect, how challenging and important is it. I meant all these things, like you guys say, like localization thing and market fit in general, I would say. And Russia will continue to grow rapidly, the CIS region too. We see the tendency for the Latin America to continue growing. We see that Chinese business is growing and changes a lot. A lot of new players go to Chinese market. A lot of Chinese developers go internationally. And the gaming ecosystem is now huge, and it basically, thankfully for Xsolla, for instance, by the way, because this is notable that everyone works with you guys. Everyone know you. You are the partner for everyone. You did a great job for this, and it also made a huge influence from my point of view for the next level in monetization in different levels, different regions, because you make it very accessible, very easy, and this helps industry to grow. So I just hope that the geopolitical aspect will go down and will get us to the good old times when we could easily work open with all the world.
It's really a very rare talk that coming from Nikita. I guess a lot of people, you guys now understand that very opportunity market where it lies. So Ryan, you're focusing on investment for so long time. I guess you can definitely feel the temperature of the world. So I would like you to share some of your thoughts about whether promising market is.
Sure. Actually, I'm gonna comment a little bit about I think the general trend, right? I think yes, the world is without getting into very political things, I would say the world is very divided, right? And the people tend to be more extreme than ever on their political belief, on the trends and everything, which again is a big problem for big companies. But it might create opportunities for newer companies too, right? And first of all, especially for Chinese game studios, right? Geopolitical issue is actually less an issue because usually I haven't seen any countries actually is very like aggressive, hassle towards the Chinese game devs, and especially Chinese game devs have to deal with the domestic regulations, which is probably the hardest in the world.
As a matter of fact, yes.
And the second thing is just I want to mention one quick thing. If you focus on the Western market, there are certain small trends you can take advantage. For example, there is a big anti-wokeness trend, right, in the gaming right now, which again, I don't want to give a moral judgment, but there are a big group of people who don't want to play the mainstream political correct Western game. Yeah. And you see the First Ascendant, you see the Stellar Blade all benefit from that, right? Because the way Asians do games generally don't fall into that pictures. And that's something, again, for bigger companies, you have to think about the reputation and the bigger picture. But for newer company, you may be able to take advantage of that and penetrate the Western tier 1 market when you have the right art style, the right characters and the story. So that's what in general I think for game developers, because it's a culture product, right? You have to understand. Many people here already mentioned you have to understand the local market and what's actually happening there, and to try to take advantage of that trend. I think that's that's what could make your game really work in those markets.
Thank you, excellent. So Berkley, it's your time to share your thoughts about that. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. I would say all the above. Like if we were taking a test in school, like what's the answer to the quiz here? It's all the above. I think everybody brought up really good points. The unbanked players situation where people don't have bank accounts. We look at markets like Brazil. You could take a game from China and take it to Brazil, but you're like, hey, we got all these players that don't even have bank accounts. But where we integrate with a wallet called Pix, there in that country, it provides that opportunity for a player can take their cash, put it in the Pix, and then pay for their game, pay for their skin, pay for their top-up accounts online, and be able to do that and take an offline experience and bring it online from a digital transaction perspective. And that's, we see those conversations in many, many countries. MENA is a big topic of conversation all the way down to Egypt, Northern Africa. The technology is getting better and better and better. Southeast Asia is getting better and better and better. Cloud-based technologies are becoming available and providing that access point to, back-end ISPs can connect into a platform like ours and then be able to provide that game to a player and play it on the web.
Right.
And do that. So we're seeing more and more of that happening from the regions. So, Southeast Asia, Northern Africa, Middle East, there's a lot of money coming in the Middle East right now, obviously from an investment perspective, but we're seeing the numbers. What's happening in the esports World Cup essentially right now in the Middle East is just blowing up. What the Olympic Committee has come in and said from in the esports, you're going to see more and more presence in the Middle East that goes into it. We want to see more games from China and everywhere else to come into that market as well. Thank you,
Berkley. So actually, for the promising market, I would like to quote what Nikita just shared. The business will find its way, and the entire global market is right now re-energized. And I guess for different regions, the people have different needs. Especially what Berkley just introduced. Actually, my publishing company just signed a couple of the console games made by a Brazilian team. They're so young, so talented, and moving so fast. And also, we got a couple of clients who's worrying about how to do the localization for the Middle East, because it's entirely different thing to do that. If you are industry guy, you know what I'm talking about, right? So it's the opposite. So yeah. I would like to the next question. I would like to talk about because the younger generation, and with all respect, the gentlemen, you guys sitting here, I'm like you guys, we are all aged men, working in this industry for at least for over 1 decade or even more, right? So the younger generation right now, their habits is rapidly changing. A lot of the young men start using the new applications such as TikTok. So I would like to start with Berkley to share the answer to the question that from everyone's perspective, what do you think is the hottest, the most popular hardware device, and what will be, from your business, what will be the most popular genre of the game? So yeah, starting from you.
That's a big question. So hardware, you're seeing a lot of things that are coming, more mainstream. You're seeing software coming to hardware. You see Snapchat doing their thing. You see Meta doing their thing. Apple's got it. It's going on with the Quest and everything. That's happening. But it's what's the experience? What's that experience? You're seeing a lot of strategy. You're seeing role-playing games and those really taking fold. I think what we've seen a lot coming out of COVID, and we were talking about the other day, is casual games. Being readily available on the phone and on the mobile device, people at home wanting that little bit of moment that they would have had on the train station, they would have had on the airport, like just to take a moment to escape and go away. You're starting to see that more and more, and particularly with the mobile devices that keep coming out in the access, the technology, and we're getting like 4K, we're gonna be 10K soon, and like what's going on a mobile phone, it just kind of blows your mind when you think about where that's come from. So the biggest advent that I would say is the hardware is just going to be the mobile device. That is,
Okay.
It keeps evolving and growing. You're going to see more casual. You're going to see role playing. You're going to see shooters. You're going to see free to play games that are happening. You can't walk on an airplane, because a lot of us came from overseas into the situation and not see a game being played.
Yeah.
And somebody's on a mobile device playing, it could be PUBG or something like that, or it could be Fortnite, it could be Roblox, different games that are happening, Genshin Impact. Was happening and like what's going on. So that would be my answer, is like the mobile devices. It continues to grow and grow and grow and become readily available to everyone. And that's the key, making that iPhone, making that Google device and others as well being available to everyone. You're going to see more and more games go that direction.
Great. Hussam, I just want to ask you, because I went to Dubai for a couple of times and I saw a lot of players over there. They're all so keen to the console game, but maybe from your perspective, your answer may be probably the same as what Berkley introduced. Your turn.
To be very honest, I'm very confused about like the trends today. Because every time you think it's like a progressive like trend, but it's not. Now I'm hearing more and more about like browser-based games, which is like something I used to play in 2009, and now I'm seeing ads coming to me on Instagram about games like Travian and Icarium and like things that are like very, very, very old. It's like I have no idea where are they coming back from, but they are coming back. Now in China, for the past week, I've been hearing a lot about mini games. Although we still don't have the concept of mini games, for example, in the Middle East, because the big platforms still don't support mini games.
Oh, you're talking about WeChat-based mini games, right?
And TikTok and others. We don't have these, but it seems to be like this is something going back. But at the same time, thinking about like people liking mini games more than actual proper hardcore games, give me the impression that people are going to simpler games. Me, even myself, and the community around me are playing like offline games and things that are very, very simple and less complicated and more casual, but still like a single player type of games. But I don't know, maybe it's like a after COVID effect, that you are just like wanting something to calm you down rather being something very competitive. But it might be just me and the bubble around me. I
actually feel the same thing. A lot of people get a bit tired about too complicated games, and maybe it's a trend. So what about the device? What's the most popular device in your regions?
I still believe that in the Middle East, of course, it's an Android-based market as everywhere. But if you want to see where the money is flowing from, it's iOS for sure.
Okay.
And even when someone wants to show you that they have like a device, it has to be like an iPhone. Again, coming to China and seeing like it's just like a very dominant market when it comes to Androids and Huawei. I think the trend in the Middle East is like iPhone more dominant than Androids.
Okay, thank you. So Nikita, because you guys are the platformer, so I'm very curious about what is your take about this question, the device, and is the PC still the mainstream over there, or is there any other answers that you can share?
This is a very interesting question from the very beginning, and all the answers are very interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to take in view several more aspects. And first of them is how the industry changed in terms of the amount of the developers. Because like I think you know well, in the beginning there were big companies like middle companies, but for now we have thousands of new developers, of small teams, small studios that are very brave in terms of the game concepts. They do a lot of tests. They basically educate themselves, and maybe they're motivated by different hits on different platforms, but this group of developers are bringing a lot of new concepts and new ideas, and some of them may become super hits. So this changed the industry a lot, because before this, I would say like 10 years ago, there were no such thing as like self-made studios, developers, and so on. For now, there are thousands of them. This is aspect number one that influences on the question that you asked.
Yeah.
Aspect number two is the huge battle for attention that we're now facing. For now, the amount of games that are going into release is huge. This number is growing from year to year. Every year, game industry receives reinforcements in terms of the players. The industry is growing, the number of titles is growing, but the number of hours in a day is staying stable. So from year to year, it becomes much more like, I would say, complicated to reach your mind, to attract your attention to some kind of a game. And this also makes a huge influence on the industry. And it's very hard to see what will be next year, what kind of trend will appear. The only thing I can say here is that I believe that the mobile platform will still be the number one in terms of growing. For us, for Yandex Games platform, we have around like 65% of the playtime that's being played from the mobile devices. Wow. So web games are also very good for the cross-platform aspect, because you can start playing a game on the phone when then you get home in the evening, and you can continue playing from the desktop. And also, I know a lot about these new developers, and I'm saying about them because we work with them a lot. We have different tiers of partners. We have hundreds of partners on the platform, about 3,000 different developers or developer companies work with us directly. And we see a huge potential in this group that are doing games by themselves. And basically, web games and our platform is a good way for them to practice, because comparing with the mobile stores, you will not receive any traffic if you will not invest in the user acquisition. And for web games, it works in another way. You can publish your game, receive traffic, we will see the metrics, and our recommendation system will consider this game is successful, and it will automatically provide more and more traffic to them. And we have a lot of guys from schools who started publishing games and developing games, and now they're earning like tens of thousands of dollars in a month. Wow. And they're hiring people. They're doing new companies. And I think that's super cool.
Okay. That's really, it made me feel like I'm super intrigued that I want to collaborate with you after the panel. Because, you know, from what the business I've been doing, the platform, if the platform is proactively helping the developers, it will definitely help the entire ecosystem to grow in the right position, to the right position. So, Ryan, I actually understand that, you know, a lot of people are talking about a mobile, but actually I know that you, under your umbrella, you successfully invested, and you are taking care of a couple of the very special teams that which are focusing on non-mobile games, such as console games. So I would like to hear your thoughts. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think to me, I'm not a macro guy. Like I don't invest in big trends, right? I invest in individual company.
But you're successful.
So I know I'm just so my point is, I think as the gaming getting mature right now,
yeah,
I think it doesn't to be honest, it doesn't make too much sense to think about what's the mega trend there. I think because mainly it's about who are your audience and where they are, right? And I think that's what is important. So I think, like in my opinion, it's, if you want to target the TikTok style of the games, right? The short and the quick feedback loop, that type of game. Of course, the mini game or the like a lightweight games are the right way to go. And but on the other side, right? I think if you want to create IP, then still, right? I would say the PC console is still probably the cheapest way to create IP, right? It's actually very difficult and expensive to create new IP on mobile, like a real IP.
Yeah,
right. I think stuck in the between is what's dangerous, right? I would say because a lot of guys can talk about the mobile now and the mini games. On the PC console side, I think the trend is is cross-platform, right? I think it's because you want the people have a easier way to access your game by mobile, but then because especially the Chinese devs that specialize in the high production value type of game,
yes.
Have a chance to then experience the fidelity on the big screen, are gonna hugely increase your IP value, potential IP value, right? I think, of course, that requires more investment, but I do think that's something a lot of Chinese companies are trying. But basically, my assessment is, focus on, who are your audience and where they are, and try to go the extreme side of things. Try not to stuck in the middle.
Okay, that's something that I really appreciate. I think we two should had a couple of beers after the panel, because I'm also focusing on the console and the premium games as well. But yeah, definitely the mobile is a kind of the big trend. But I think database wise, as a localization service expert, you guys must be very aware of the trend. Tell me what kind of a game genre and what kind of device you feel as becoming more and more popular. Sutor.
Actually, to answer this question, I think it's depend on where the player is come from.
Yeah.
So, for example, in Nordic game country, a lot of developer focus on the PC and the console first.
Right.
I asked a question, hey guys, why not mobile? They said a lot of players engage in the PC and the console game because they have a single room, which is enough for them to play the PC and the console game, even for the VR game. So that leads us to make a reflection. So if you want to target to different platforms, you need to first think where the player come from. Another example can be if a player in the subway. So the best solution may be the mobile platform, right? Mobile should be the easy way for them to play the game. So I think in the game industry, we also find a name called the scenario-based solution. That means based on the player's scenario, we provide the solution. That also lead a lot of the game developer release cross-platform games. For example, if their game have very good performance on PC, on Steam, they can consider to release a mobile version. That is their next plan for that. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very interesting and useful. So, since Nikita mentioned there are thousands of new small or independent developers coming to trying to create the game of their own in recent years. Actually, this is exactly the question I'm going to ask, and it is actually the phenomenal things that I've seen starting from last year. If you guys pay attention to the local platforms such as Bilibili, things like that, you will surprisingly see the quantity of the indie devs. There's more and more indie devs start uploading how they create their games of their own, rather than working for a major game company. So this is something that's been appearing after the COVID. It's very obvious. So I would like to understand your opinion about it too, because there are so many developers appearing at the same time suddenly from nowhere, and people always dream about successful games all over the world and going global successfully. But from your point of view, what kind of developer is suitable for going global? I mean, human, not the genre of the game. Developer itself, what kind of developer is qualified, is good enough to establish their own product or small team? So who want to be the first? Maybe Ryan, maybe because you've seen like hundreds of thousands of dev teams every year, right?
Sure. I think we talk a lot of this already, right, in the previous a few topics. To me, I think is to understand where your strength is, right? And if you have anything special to offer to the global market. I would say, if we're talking about the Chinese game studios, I think there's a 3-way, right, to be really special, right? The first is just the numerical game design that Chinese live games company are very good at, and but then the problem is in the global market you are not special anymore, because a lot of Chinese companies, the bigger ones, are using that lever to make $1 billion globally, right? The second is Chinese IP, right? That could be I count Wukong kind of the IP side, right? Even though it's not a special IP, a specific IP, but you have a Chinese IP that a global audience understand, and you can do it in the right way. And the third is the production, right? The product, if you can do the type of the production game value that the other countries cannot do, right? Especially in the art sphere, right? The anime type of game, that's quite special. But again, understand who are you competing with. I would say the last thing is develop some. There are games only Chinese developers can develop, and that's because how you grow up and how you think about the view of the world, right? The view of the society, and that's you see a lot of indie game, right? On the Steam, the way they package the games, the way they write the story, it's very special. That if you don't grow up in China, you probably won't be able to do it, and that gives another special angle, to the global audience. So you just need to understand, you have to be special in something, and that something is, and you also on that particular space, you have to be really good, right? If the only thing you're good at is production value, but you cannot compete with Mihail, then you're not gonna win.
Yeah, right. Thank you. So Berkley, tell us a little bit about, because your company has been dealing with countless accounts. Clients at the same time each year. So what is your take that, what kind of developer can become a very independent guy who can deliver to a product to the global market?
It's a good question. Kind of build on what Ryan said a little bit as well. One that has strong IP and has a story to tell. It doesn't have to be Marvel. It doesn't have to be Superman. It doesn't have to be whatever movie is out.
Yeah.
But we're having lots of conversations with indies that already have IP developed. That's an amazing story that applies to the game first and foremost. And then the studios are calling them already for book deals and movie deals and like streaming deals. It's crazy. And they're indies. They're not AAAs.
Yeah.
They're independent self-publishing studios that are putting this together. And somebody that has an incredible story to tell, no matter what the genre is, and has incredible graphics. They're using AI tools to mass produce and do it faster. Not enough time in the day. There's only 24 hours. We're desperately trying to find hour 25 and 26 in the day and make that happen. But has IP that can go out there. We believe that, you've seen a lot of the big games push. 2025, 2026. This is the year of the indie. This is the year of the indie. Push your game out there, test it, learn, get feedback from your user base. They'll tell you, you've got a great game. You've got a great idea. I would have done something a little differently. Listen. Don't ignore it. Listen to that feedback and be open and humble about being able to do it. So from a personality perspective, kind of check the ego a little bit and listen to what your user base is. Test your IP. Get a story out there. Get it on all the socials. Get some feedback from some folks. But if you have an IP and a story, I don't care where you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care who you're backed by or not backed by, or it's 6 guys in an apartment in a dorm room. that's going on. We see those all the time that happening. You got a powerful IP, you've got something, and let's make it happen.
Yeah, IP really matters, and no matter where you're from, if you can take care of your IP, I think a lot of things become possible. So, Nikita, your turn, because you just mentioned what we were talking about in the last question. I want you to elaborate a little bit more about on your platform, what kind of developer they are successful and they can make their business at making money. Yeah.
I got a lot to say here. First of all, I totally agree with colleagues, with everything that you said. I think for the success, several things needed. First is a combination of skills and experience. And this is very specific and unique for every case. The second thing is a team. This is truly important, to have good colleagues with high skills that support your idea and help you to improve your confidence, because on this way, the hardest thing is not to lose your believing in the success. When you're investing your strengths and time instead of doing something else, because usually going by your own road is complicated, because the world is trying to get you to some kind of a standard way. They always tell you, why are you wasting your time on this? You could do something instead. And this is the main thing for the new developers, to stay on the track and continue to believe and get to some kind of point of success that will prove the concept of what you're doing. And there are lots of different illusions on this way, both positive and negative. Positive illusion is when some investor approaches you and he says that he truly believes in your idea and you're doing everything absolutely correctly, and you believe too, but after this he canceled the deal and you're like away from the success.
That happens all the time.
Yes, yeah. That's true. I can give you a very serious example of the worldwide success game that I was consulting.
Name it.
It's Atomic Heart.
Okay.
I was consulting Atomic Heart 5 years ago. There was a small team, but they were 100% confident in what they were doing. They didn't even have an investor by this time. They were like several game designers that were supporting each other and admiring the idea and the talent of each other. I was very surprised because I was consulting them in terms of marketing more, but I was very surprised of how confident they are that they're doing something fantastic. It was a group of people, like 5 to 6 people that were going to meetings with me, but all of them knew that they will succeed. And they made Atomic Heart. It became a huge legend and a huge hit in the industry. And I think that from this case, we can learn a lot. So thing number one is confidence. If you made a decision together with your team to move in some kind of direction, you need to go to the end. But you need to understand what is the end, what's the point that we're all moving to. And after this, we will be able to make a decision whether to go after this or go some other way. So this is like a big example. There are a lot of different small development teams. And for them, I would say the main thing is to start earning revenue. That's a main thing. Even if this revenue is not very high, it will still allow them to close some questions in their lives, supporting each other and so on. And from this point, mobile gaming is not giving a lot of opportunities because it's too complicated to receive attention, like we discussed. For the PC development, it's much more expensive. It's much more complicated. It needs another skills, another game engines to work with, and the revenue is very far away from the point when you have a startup doing some kind of like game concept. So again, web games in this direction will help you a lot because it's a good sandbox you can like start developing different concepts and try them on live.
Yeah.
See the real metrics, start earning real money, improve it. So I think this kind of the support from the industry will help and motivate new developers to continue their way. Because I know people from industry who spend like 3-4 years on a project and they didn't even go into release.
Yeah.
So earning money is very important.
Okay.
And ecosystem of game industry should provide developers with this kind of opportunities.
Thank you. So even the platform we're talking about is a little bit different, but this is kind of universal, having confidence. And in the middle of that, just trying to be resilience and teamwork, things like that will make you overcome all those challenges. Thank you. So Hussam, I'm not sure if you have any of your insight about the entrepreneur developers. I would like you to talk about, but very quickly. We're running out of time.
Yeah, I agree again with everything that has been said. But each one of the speakers talked about like an aspect of the game developer. I believe maybe one missing component is game developers are not being treated as any other entrepreneur in all other industries.
Exactly.
They don't even refer to game developers as entrepreneurs because they are entrepreneurs, like starting their own companies, but they are always referred to as game developers, indie studios, but not companies and entrepreneurs. And for me, I always, like when I talk to young developers or young studios, I try to think of them as entrepreneurs, starting like a SaaS company or starting like an e-commerce company or any other AI tech. It's a tech company at the end of the day. The minute that they start thinking about themselves as true entrepreneurs, they will start thinking about like a proper business plan. Exactly what Nikita was talking about, like thinking about like making money. Because today, when you talk to indie developers, what they think about the most is passion and yeah, just like dreaming and like an amazing idea. There's something that I would, and a lot of like this was like hyped up with like a lot of series and movies about on Netflix about like amazing developers who spend 7 years developing a crazy concept idea. It's like, okay, fine, amazing, but like you will die along the way because you cannot make any money. You need to bring some bread on the table, especially in more emerging markets where you actually need to work and you will need to make some money and you cannot rely on your parents or support, like an actual support system around you. And I believe that this, in particular, this concept, pushed back the investors from investing in gaming companies because they don't treat them as entrepreneurs. Whenever you go to a VC and you tell them that, like, listen, I have this idea or this company that I want to develop games, it's like, gaming, no. But they will invest in almost everything else, but not gaming. Because gamers need to, or like studios or indies, or whatever you want to call it, need to think about the full spectrum of developing a company, of hiring a team, setting up legal, putting a business plan, fundraising, pitching, talking in front of investors. Most of the indies today don't know how to speak to investors, don't know how to put a presentation together. But they are like good coders, good game designers, good developers. I don't know, this is like my own theory, and this pushes me back a lot from investing in young developers to develop their games. But this is like how I think about this.
I want to add something first. That's why we need professional video game investors.
Yeah.
So that's why we're trying to fill in the hole there. But I want to add a little bit here because I think that's very, very important. Again, huge respect to Mountfish and Atomic Heart, but that's a miracle. And if you the first game you want to do Atomic Heart, that's probably not a good idea, right? And we talk about this a lot already, and think my advice is really combining what I said before. Know what you're good at, what's the real secret sauce you have, but only focus on that. Don't try to make the first project all your dreams, right? You know, if you the best thing is the story, right? You can write great stories.
Here.
Focus on that.
Yeah.
But don't try to write the best story and then the best game system and the best production value. And of course, if dream come true, that would be a miracle. But you know, try to make money. Then that means you know you have to ship the first game and in the reasonable cost, and but still with some unique selling point, right? I think that's what actually lacking in today's market, especially in the video game you know startup.
Yeah, excellent. So, Sutor, yeah, because I'm not sure if you're approaching a lot of these small developers or not, but yeah, your answer also matters.
Actually, I agree with that. You should have a passion. You should have the confidence. That's very important. But I would like to say, especially you want to success in the market, you should have a global vision, which means at the early beginning of the game development, you need to think about what kind of topic, what kind of genre should be best for the global market. And also you need to think about the narrative design and also the innovation about your gameplay. That's most important. And second, consider the global publishing. You also need to think about localization. Actually, we call it culturalization. It's above the localization.
Yeah.
Which means not only for the translation, but also for localized design, localized monetization system. That is very important for get money. And the third part, actually, you also need to recognize the game as a service, which means you need to continue to release new content, continue to iterate based on the players' feedback.
Sure.
You should have a long term for that. And the last part, I think, which is very meaningful, that means you need to use the data to drive the game development and the game publishing. All the steps, you need to set the metrics, use data analyze to get your game business. That will be make sure you have a good chance to success in the market. Yeah.
Thank you. So I guess this is pretty much what we can talk about within 1 hour. Actually, we prepared more questions, but you know, we're running out of time. I don't want the committee to blame us, but we actually cover a lot of the very great topics and a lot of the answers being provided from different angles, perspectives. And I guess, gentlemen, if you guys have any interest in knowing them, after the panel discussion, you feel free to reach them and to talk with them. So thank you for your time. And let's hope, for next year, we can have like a 2 or 3 hours to talk about it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Give the time back to the host. Yeah. 交给你了。我们结束了。
Thank you.
Thank you.